here we are. The 45 is done, and now we're at 90 degrees, and I haven't actually done resymmetry on this level yet. I'd only done it on the first two where we left off in our last video, so I'm going to have to do this now, and I'm going to do it at level 1, as you might expect. And that's what the next few steps are. It's just going to be me getting the right mask, so masking everything that I want to keep, and leaving unmasked all the areas that I want to get symmetry from the opposite side. And then I'll go down here, and it will be Smart Resim that I use. Okay, there it goes. And obviously it needs some refinement. These are all popped up too high. Looks slightly different now that we have different contours from blocking in our deltoids and blocking in the trapezius, things that we didn't have when we had just the base mesh. So we really have to conform kind of the large angles now. And in fact, one of the things that we're going to have to do is drop the shoulders down because they've gone too high. So I'm just working on the angles first of the scapula. And then you'll notice that his deltoid is way too high. And his clavicle has a huge kind of angle to it that we don't see yet. So we're going to have to pop this down. So I'm just going to make a mask of the torso and transpose it down. And then I'm just going to actually transpose a little bit of the bump of the deltoid down as well. Now looking at this kind of from above, I'm doing an additional assessment, and it's kind of showing me that all of this part in this crazy drawing pointer goes crazy on me sometimes. Essentially, our acromion's been massively compressed in that transpose, raising the arms. So we need to really kind of move it out and uncompress the bony shoulder girdle. So the clavicle and the acromion of the spine of the scapula need to be adjusted a little bit. So again, right now I'm at level 1. And like I said earlier, fantastic to just be able to use the move tool to find all these angles, right? And really look at these angles and just get the contours in here. Okay, so just keep an eye out for adjusting your silhouette as you go. And again, this is one of the reasons that I'm going to give you guys some of the barg exercises, is so that you can really attend to these kind of shapes and these kind of overlaps, because this is where it pays off when you're trying to get these things to do the right thing, you know. Okay, so actually we're at 90 and I'm adjusting the chest up, right? So I'm actually using the nudge brush to slide the edge loops of the chest up, right? So these were flowing down and across before, but as the humerus elevates, they have to flow to the right place. So rather than getting the clay tubes and redoing all the kind of fibrous direction, I'm just sliding the edge loops at level 1. And that will go in and adjust the flow a little bit. Okay, and again, standard procedure as his arms go up is to take some volume out of his chest as it gets stretched further and further away. More of his armpit is exposed, so I'm having to really go in there and find the convexity of latissimus dorsi and the teres major as they come in. So again, latissimus dorsi is going to be in here like this. And teres major is going to be coming in from a higher level. Oh, painful. There will be a bug report soon, don't worry about it. So there's my teres major. So you can see I kind of block those two in simultaneously as we go. That's me working on the teres major. And I'm going to have to pay special attention now to how these overlap right in here, right? Because remember, long head of the tricep comes in like this, and the teres major goes underneath it. So you'll see me do a bit of refinement there. Just looking at how much of the scapula, the bottom angle of the scapula is elevated now because it's changed since the previous pose. So I'm just kind of looking closely at the reference and refining that, as well as the unique characteristics of the trapezius in here. Right, we've seen this actually in some of our in our previous exercises, that there's kind of some nice kind of fibrous bundles coming off that medial border. So there's the refinement of the teres major and the triceps. Okay, looking at the acromion processes again, really trying to get the shape back into it after it was crushed with the transpose, and get some of the characteristic things that I see in the reference back onto the deltoid. Right, the big volume coming up here, and then this back edge coming off the rear border of the acromion, and then the rear head of the deltoid coming in, and eventually kind of merging in, but getting kind of glossed over a little bit right here, so the forms converge. Paying attention to which section of the trapezius is active to hold the arms at this angle. And now looking to adjust the contours of the front head of the deltoid and get the right flow of the pecs across. Okay, so this is going to start to bother me soon if it hasn't started to bother you yet. This single serratus digit will have to be addressed soon. I'm sure I've noticed it. It's just a question of when, not if, it will be addressed. But it looks like I'm just getting on with things. So again, looking at the deltoid and the triceps overlap. Being careful to build the front deltoid off of this lateral end of the clavicle. Horrible. Okay, so looking in here. This section of the trapezius that comes off the medial edge of the acromion really takes a lot of the weight for this pose. Right, so it's really popping out. Redoing what I've just done on the other side. Quick turntable to just really assess things as it spins around. You can see this side still needs a lot of work. I haven't kind of committed to finishing it yet, but I'll go in and refine it at some point soon. Now, at this level you kind of see, hope maybe you can see where I'm going, but this is all quite planar right here from trapezius down. And on this side as well. So really I need to go in there and pop it out. Right, so I'm going to get the move brush and I'm just going to pop out some volume this way, just to make it a little deeper. So right now it looks like it's been compressed into the chest. Remember, we have the full bony plate of the scapula with the ridge coming down the spine. So so it has a little bit of volume. Okay, it's finally vexed me for long enough. I have the arms up still, so in the layer palette, you can see I have 90 degrees on, and I still have 45 degrees on, but I'm recording on 0 degrees. So the arms are still up, but I can modify the base forms anyways, and that's what I'm doing. I'm going to put the serratus modification into the base level. And then, regardless of the articulations of the arm, it will be available to the model and will show up. Likewise, all the other modifications I'm doing here, obliques and abs, will be in the base level. I'm not doing a very good job on the serratus right now, as maybe you can tell. My attention lapsed. I'll have to refine it again before this process is finished. Okay, arms all the way up. I've just resimmed, and we're at 135 degrees now. So things are getting pretty compressed up here in the shoulders, right? We're doing a lot of work. We have to do a little bit of what we've done at 90 degrees and reestablish our acromion, and then get the trapezius to be the right volume, side to side. And again, tapering this angle of the lats in on both sides. Flattening out the chest, adjusting the flow out to the humerus. And what I've just done there, I've actually gone in with the move brush, and I've just lifted the chest a little bit, right? If you look at this edge loop here, I will just take this edge loop and pop it up just a tiny bit. And that's just almost a skin slide that I've done. So you lift the chest, it's going to lift up the kind of everything along with it. A little pull on the abdominal aponeurosis. Okay, there I'm refining the obliques, the serratus anterior again. Again, getting the convergence of everything out here to look right. Right, really want to get these things to do the right thing. So again, we're not having to resculpt everything as we change the pose, but we do have to resculpt the critical components of the pose, right? And this kind of thing applies across all sorts of production work as well. If you're kind of in a pipeline where you're doing pretty complicated creatures, corrective shapes and corrective poses are a big part of it. So this type of exercise really applies to that sort of workflow as well. And the important thing is really knowing what you need to change as the pose changes. And in fact, you guys will probably know scapulo-humeral rhythm better than most anybody in post-production. Hey, look at this awkward change of materials that I've just done. I've just changed it to the matte cap gray and quickly couldn't tolerate it anymore, so I switched it back. So a quick adjustment of the lights and a turntable just to see how the forms work under different conditions. They're pretty good. Probably a few things still to address as far as volumes go, and I'm sure I'll get to those eventually too. Now, we're finally to 180 degrees, and I'm going to transpose the arm back up. I'm painting a little bit of a mask right now. You can see a mask pen. I've done a transpose mask to here, but I want to get this angle as well. So I'm painting the scapula into this this mask. Then I'll invert it, and then we're going to smart resim. And there it goes. They're both up. And I actually have some modifications to do, some fixes to kind of conform everything and move the arms a little bit further overhead as well. Trying to uncluster the edge loops with just simple Move brush, pulling verts down here. You can see it doesn't look horrible, but there's a lot of areas that need to be adjusted. Like right in here and down here, down here. And some of this doesn't quite work as far as the volumes go. And likewise, we have a lot of saggy chests that needs to be fixed, and things need to we need to adjust our flow again. The other thing, actually, you can see I'm finally fixing his abs. I mentioned this quite a while ago, is that this was a little bit out of proportion. And so you can see I'm actually editing on level 0 again. And we will just make those base changes and then proceed. Actually, at level 90, or at 180 degrees, sorry, arms overhead, he has his stomach tucked in, or is inhaling, so his costal cartilage is showing. So what I've just done here is I'm just doing a quick comparison between 135 and 190. I've popped the rib cage out a little bit to kind of compensate for an inhale. And I've pushed the abs in a little bit. But at some point before this finishes, I'm going to have to go in and modify this so it's no longer external oblique showing, but more costal cartilage. And I'll have to smooth some of the subdivision of the abs in, because it's a little bit stretched thinner, right? So they won't be as thick. But we'll get to that when we get to it. Right now, we're just going to fix things in the back. Again, that's some rhomboid going in. That's the stretched out tail of the trapezius. This guy is really working hard. This section of the trapezius coming off the acromion, he creates a lot of form back here. Pay close attention to that, because this is going to be really important for how this the sculpt reads at 180 degrees. And the rest of it, so this is actually kind of pulled kind of tight and flexing, but the rest of these areas are really stretched out, right? So they're going to go flat compared to this top section, right? So I'm actually going to have to take some volume out of this at some point. Deltoid, as the arms go all the way overhead, is at its shortest, right? So when it's all relaxed to the side, it's at its longest, but now it really has all sorts of additional volume in it, right? So we have to pay attention to how those forms look. Trying to uncluster edges. And again, that's the advantage of having level 0 or level 1, is that you can go down and just work at the vertex level. So really kind of working that top section of the trapezius there and the shape of the deltoid. We are considerably broken here. There was a problem in how some of the details transposed, so I'm going to have to re-sculpt that. I'm smoothing at different levels to get it down to this, and then I'm just going to rebuild. Long head of the triceps, short head. Coracobrachialis. And now I'm in this area of the clavicle and the clavicular section of the pectoralis major, where we have to really kind of pop this over like this, because remember from the lecture bit that this is where, at this pose, the clavicle is rotated up to 50 degrees backwards, axially this way, right? So that's not much help, but it's rotated on itself and essentially brought the chest muscles up, and also pushed the front deltoid back and around. So we have a lot of form to adjust in that area. in addition to just the standard removal of volume in the lower sections. Fixing that arm again. I don't think I'm ever going to fix it 100%. I think I might just leave it. Now I've just, in here, I've just taken some of that volume out that I mentioned, right? Remember, this is really stretched far away from its origin. So it has less volume than you would normally have. Finding the deltoid again. And again, I'm looking closely at the reference to match the shape, how it kind of blossoms over the acromion. And now I'm just going in with a standard brush, put the focal shift a little bit negative, and I'm making some pretty half-hearted attempts at skin folds, because the skin does really fold up on itself in the acromion at that level. Feel free to do a better job on the skin folds if you want, but this is not about the skin layer. This is about other things. Okay, just stepping through this, I'm looking at a few different things. And one thing that I think I'm noticing is the overall thickness of the chest front to back is too much. So I'm going to go in here at, again, I've done a kind of a covert switch to 0 degrees. And I'm going to push the top of the chest in. And I've done it, so taking some of the volume out. And here I am. I'm redoing this serratus. It was dropping down a little bit too low. It was down here. But I'm just going to pop it up a little bit. And the reason that I'm doing this, and the reason that I've noticed that how poorly positioned it was, is that I'm getting ready to place this 8th rib coming back, right? So as he shows his costal cartilage, the 8th rib is kind of the prominent rib that comes out. Then you'll have 9th and 10th below. But this digit needs to go onto the 8th rib, and it wasn't anywhere close when it was down here. So I'm fixing it at, again, level 0, at 0 degrees, before I go back in to block in the costal cartilage. So you see I'm active again at 180 degrees, and the costal cartilage is coming in. Just kind of flattening down the rib cage right here. Or sorry, the abs underneath the costal arch. Doing a little bit of refinement on both sides. This is not going to be magical. I didn't spend a lot of time to make it perfect, but it reads well enough to get the point across. And again, I'm just looking for final finishing touches, areas that aren't quite done enough. And small modifications to the lower section that results from kind of a big overhead reach, right? So some of the lats are stretched thinner, so I'm taking out a little bit of volume here. He actually arches his back a bit, so I've thickened up some of this, sucked in the stomach a bit more. And then the turntable with a few different lighting conditions to see how it looks. And that kind of walks us through all of the articulations of the shoulder, right? So you guys will get to do all of these. And again, it's not sculpting 5 different sculptures. It's sculpting one starting point and then just working in the changes. But I think through doing this exercise, you guys will get a chance to really appreciate, and you'll actually never forget how important it is to articulate the scapula and the shoulder girdle as the arms move, because pretty much anything other than the default pose of the arms is going to impact all of this, and you'll notice and you'll understand the the implications as far as musculature goes, and changes in form. Okay, so it's a big exercise, but I think it's manageable. And I've also given you guys in the download files a little bit of help along the way if you need it. There's going to be the starting points, the level 1 meshes from all of my different layers. So you guys can use those to get you on the right track if you absolutely stumble. Okay, so good luck. I hope this was broadly informative and you've learned a few things. Okay, thanks.